Okay, people, so the prelims, right? The prelims for our next UFC event. You know what I mean? UFC Vegas 103. We got some really good fights. Some interesting fights on this one. You know what I mean? And it all starts off in the women's flyweight division. We got Montana De La Rosa against Luana Carolina. Now, De La Rosa, right? She's coming off a win. She beat Andrea Lee in the rematch. That was June 2024. So it's a while ago. It's a split decision. It's close. It was a very close. I thought Lee had taken the fight. I think that's what I remember. It's been a while ago since watching that one, but it did break a 3-fight skid that De La Rosa was on. Her record in the UFC is 6-5, 1 draw. So I wouldn't say this is a fight that she has to win for a job, but you know that De La Rosa definitely wants to be put. I mean, no one wants to lose, right? No one wants to lose, but she does need this to stay in anyone's mind, right? To be thought of as a legit contender, you know? And obviously, when I say a legit contender, she's not getting a title shot off this, but to have any sort of relevance, she needs this win. But she's going against Carolina, right? Who, she's on a little streak. She's on a little streak right now. She's 6-3 in the UFC, came via the Contender Series, and she's won her last 3 fights. You know, 2 decisions, 1 stoppage. That one is a little bit because she did miss, right? She did, but she has looked good. Right, when you look at her career, she's got a win over Lupe Godinez, which, I mean, Lupe's been like doing her thing, so that's a good win to have on her record. Now, with this fight, with the fact that Carolina is on this, on this run, and she's gassed, right? She's feeling herself. She's got that swagger, that confidence. I also think she probably puts things together a bit better than De La Rosa. I think she's got more in the arsenal, her movement, her strikes. So I'm going Carolina for the win here. That is my thoughts on that fight. All right, next, we're sticking with the flyweight division, but we are with the men. And this time we've got Charles Inner G Johnson. He's going against man, so many names that I'm just gonna wreck. So many names I'm gonna wreck, right? It is Ramazan Temirov. I think that's how we say it. Ramazan Temirov. Now, Charles Johnson. Man, I've been watching Johnson since his time in LFA, and I always thought he looked good in the LFA, right? He was 6-1 in the LFA, won the title, defended the title. But coming to the UFC, there were some tricky moments. Like his first fight was against Muhammad Makachev, right? Which, It was a tough one. And I think with that one, he got taken down a lot. He got taken down and held, right, which didn't help him. He then won his next two, right, but then went on a 3-fight losing streak. Now, he lost to some good people. But, you know, you're just thinking, fuck. Now, I think some of those fights were short notice. But since then, right, since his last defeat in November 2023, Johnson has been looking legit. Won his last four. And one of those fights against Joshua Van, who no one thought he was going to win that fight. He just hit this beautiful uppercut. Beautiful. After losing the first round, right, he came back and, man, he was looking good and won it with a nasty uppercut. So Johnson has been, he's been looking like the fighter you knew he was coming from LFA. He is going up against, you know, Temirov, who, you know, Temirov is coming with just one fight in the UFC. One fight in the UFC. He knocked out CJ Vargas. I mean, and he looked good doing it, right? It was in the first half, about halfway through the first round. He really good. Heavy hands. Heavy hands. So that was October last year, 2024. You know, he's been knocking people out, like, you know, throughout his career. Not many fights have gone the distance. You know what I mean? Not many fights have gone the distance. But, right, he's lost a couple. One of those fights he lost was via decision. It's via decision, you know? So it's like, okay. Johnson, very good with submissions. Very good with submissions, you know? And when you think about the fact Johnson has fought a load of guys who heavy hands, right? He's fought a load of guys with heavy hands. And I think he's going to be able to weather the storm and impose his will, right? Get the fight to the ground. And then that's where Johnson, I think, will be able to do the best work and has his best chances of winning things. So I'm looking forward to this, and I'm going Charles Johnson for the win. So we are back in the flyweight division and the women's flyweight division, right? We got Andrea Lee against JJ Aldrich. So KGB Lee, right? She, you know, as meant, you know, fight, she's coming off of a loss. Right, coming off a loss. Now she's fought in the LFA Invicta, and yeah, now she's been in the UFC for a while. She's 5-8, 5-8. Definitely had some fights which could have gone her way, but you know, she does need a win. She definitely does need a win. If she loses this one, it could be over. Now, Aldrich, you know, similar to Lee, right? She fought in Invicta. She's 9-6 in the UFC. You know, is coming off a loss in her last fight, which was in May 2024. Before that, she'd won 2. Right, she beat Montana De La Rosa, so they've got an opponent in common. but it has been a bit up and down for her. She's put together a few wins, but then she loses a fight, so it is a bit up and down. Like, there are times when she's on her game, she does look good. She does look good. And I think, right, De La Rosa is good. She's got a good jab when she uses it. But I think Aldrich is taking this one. Right? I think Aldrich is taking the fight. I think she's got less wear and tear. And, I think there is maybe more hunger. Like, I think Aldrich can see more of a chance of progressing in the division, right? So she knows all she needs is a win, right? All she needs is a win, and then she can get some more momentum going. And I think Aldrich this fight. All right, so we go to the featherweight division. Finally, we're moving up. We're moving up, people. It is Danny Silva against Lucas Almeida, which this one should be good. This one is a fun friggin' fight, right? Now, Silva is coming off a win against Joshua Calabu, right? It was a split decision. It was a hard fought fight. He comes to the UFC via the Contender Series. He's fought in LFA, right? I think he goes decision a lot, right? He got some stoppages earlier on in his career, but he's not one to not know how to go the full three, and a hard fight as well. So he's up against Lucas Almeida. Right now, Almeida, he's been around longer, right? He did fight on the Contender Series. He did win that one, right? But he did make, right? He's had 4 fights, won 2, lost 2. Right? His last fight was in June 2024. He beat Timmy Kumbula. His 2 losses were to Pat Sabatini and Andre Fili. Right? So 2 tough guys, right? 2 tough guys. He did win his debut, beat Michael Tizano via stoppage in the 3rd. That was a crazy one. So he does. I feel he's coming with more experience. It's a tough one, man. I feel this one is very close. I mean, it was very close. I wouldn't put money on this one. Like, they match up very well. I think I am going Almeida, though. I'm going Almeida. I think it'll be a dog fight, people. It's gonna be a dog fight, but Almeida for the win. So next up, we go to the Bantamweight division. We got Douglas Silva de Andrade against John Castañeda. All right, now, Andrade, right? He is 7-6 in the UFC. 7-6 coming, right? He lost a decision to Mike Johns. That was in June last year, right? He beat Cody Stamann before that. Lost to Said Makarevov. Again, butchering names, man. Butchering names. Lost to Lerone Murphy. He's lost to Peter Yan. It does seem that when he steps up in competition, it doesn't always go his way. Doesn't always go his way. His biggest win probably is Marlon Vera. I mean, you could say it's Renan Pereira, right? But Renan, man, it's not been the same. After losing those fights to Dillashaw, he's not been the same. But yeah, he's biggest. I mean, in the current state of things, is probably Marlon Vera. So yeah, but yeah, you know, he's plenty of UFC experience, right? Opposite him tomorrow night, we have got John Castañeda, who is 4-3, right? Came to the UFC via the Contender Series. Now, he also lost his last fight, and that was also June last year. He lost to Daniel Marcos. He put together a couple of fight wins before that. I don't think he's fought anyone. Well, he did actually beat Miles Johns, right? He beat Miles Johns where, you know, Andrade lost to Johns. So there is that. But other than the Johns fight, he hasn't fought anyone really of the same level. You know, he lost to Nathaniel Wood, who's a very good fighter. So yeah, I mean, they're both very good. They're both very good. But when you look at it, I think Andrade has fought the higher quality opposition. And so I think he's gonna just have a bit too much. I think it's gonna be a close fight. It's gonna be a good fight, but I'm going with Douglas Silva de Andrade. Right, so next we go back to the featherweight division. The men's featherweight, we got Ricardo Ramos against Chepe Mariscal. Machine Gun Chepe. Oh man, that's gonna be fireworks. This is such a fun fight, right? Now Ramos, right? Ramos, he is 8-5 in the UFC. 8-5. Won his last fight, beat Joshua Calabo. It was a split decision, August 2024. And man, he needed that one, right? Because he'd lost the two previous. He lost to Charles Jourdain and Juliana Rosa. 2 submission losses. Both guillotines, right? Back-to-back guillotine losses. He did win his UFC debut, beat Danny Chavez. Got a stoppage in that one. Right? Across Machine Gun Chepe, who is a buzzsaw. Mariscal is a buzzsaw, and he is on fire right now. He's on fire, right? He's 4-0. 4-0. Beat Damian Jackson last time. Had a split against Morgan Charrier, beat Jack Jenkins, beat Trevor Peake in a barn burner. Yeah, I don't think Ramos can stop Chepe, right? I'd put money on it, and I believe I did. I believe I did. So yeah, I'm going Chepe Mariscal. And I think he's going to look electric. It's going to be another great performance from Machine Gun, baby. So looking forward to that. So our final fight in the prelims, we go to the big boys, right? It's the heavyweights. Austen Lane against Mario Pinto. I think Austen Lane, man, like, he will always be remembered for the first time he fought on the Contender Series. Because that was nasty. That was nasty, right? Woo! Greg Hardy just took his lights out, man. Took his lights out. But mad props because he went away, rebuilt things, worked on the skills and got his way back. You know what I mean? Got his way back. Got back to the Contender Series. Won in the first round. Got a stoppage. Made it back to the UFC. It's been up and down, right? It's not been the best of situations. First fight was a no contest. Then he lost 2. He did beat Ramos, Daspanyan. Man, fuck it. I can't say the date. But he did win his last fight. It was very lackluster. And the difference was he was able to take him down, right? But we know Rubilus's it was trash, right? It was trash. On the feet, he still does look kind of rocky. Now, Mario Pinto, he is making his UFC debut. He came via the Contender Series, right? He's had 5 fights in another organization. And, he does, he's won by stoppage, by punches. He's got a rear naked choke back in the day, early on. Now, he has got less experience from Lane. And Lane hasn't got a whole ton of experience. He's still pretty new in the career. But as I said, I think Lane, for being able to work his way back from that horrible Hardy knockout. But still, on the feet, he can look suspect. So I'm thinking that Pinto gets the win. I think Pinto gets the win and gets the win via knockout. So yeah. Let's see what happens, people. Let's see what happens. But that is the prelims.